Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Ethereum. We're going to be looking at its valuation against Bitcoin and the US dollar. So if you guys like the content, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So, we've been following Ether for a while. We speculated on this move here, once Bitcoin had been above the 20-week. Now Bitcoin is holding it as support. And we talked before, in many months ago, that when Bitcoin held support on the 20-week moving average last cycle, Ethereum tended to do quite well. And you notice that this happened back in January of 2016. So let's go back and look, now that we're kind of in the middle of everything, let's go back and look exactly what happened. So if we go back, let's look at the BLX. We're going to go all the way back to the very beginning. Back when, not the very beginning, just back to here when Bitcoin held the 20-week moving average as support, okay? So leading up to it holding it as support, Bitcoin had dropped 20%, okay? And it started dropping in December, maybe late December, early January, it started dropping to the 20-week moving average, okay? During that time, if we take a look at what Ether was doing, so we're going to be looking, we're getting a very fine resolution now that we're kind of living it. This is the move. So starting in January, early January, Ethereum started moving, and you can see that it started moving. Let's look closely here. So it held support the first day that Bitcoin held support back during the last market cycle on the 20-week moving average was on the week of February 1st, okay? So it was coming down to it, but on February 1st, it was pretty close to it. Now, if you go to February 1st here, February 1st of 2016, it was around this point, okay? So right here, you can see it had already pumped a decent amount. So let's take a measured move, and we're gonna take a measured move from, we could take it all the way down here, but this is when Bitcoin first got above its 20-week. So in October of 2015, Ethereum saw this first move when Bitcoin got above its 20-week. This is against USD, and then it started to have a major move in January. Now let's show that from early January to February 1st, Ether pumped around 136%. Okay, and then on February 1st is when Bitcoin held the 20-week, right? We know that on February 1st, we've generally spoken about it in terms of quarters, right? Just the first quarter of the year. But if we look closely, we can see it was the first week of February that we held support. After we held support, Bitcoin came back up to that prior local high. If we were to repeat history, this would mean that over the next few weeks, Bitcoin would go back to, say, $12,000, right? This is what this would indicate. In that situation, if we were to go back to, say, $12,000, and then Ether obviously would remain very bullish during that time, you can see what Ethereum did. So let's go ahead and remove this one. So we're going to remove this first measured move here, and then we're going to draw it from February 1st, okay? So from February 1st, Ether did another 447%, and this is identically when Bitcoin was holding support at the 20-week moving average, okay? So Bitcoin held support, Bitcoin moved back up to its prior local top, right? And the local top, if we go back over here to Bitcoin, was it was around $450 or so. So it came up to $450, it dumped back down to $370, came back up to $450, back to the 20-week, back to the local top, back to the 20-week, and then it shot through. Okay, so in one regard, we don't know yet, right, if Bitcoin is going to hold the 20-week. We can speculate that it might, right? We can look at it and see, you know what? We're at least in the second week of trying to hold it. We held it last week, a wick down to it. In the second week, currently a wick down to it. Now, if we continue to hold it and move back up, let's suppose that we move back up to 12K at some point, and then maybe we come back down, test the 20-week again, come back up, maybe back down, and then we break through up to the next level. If indeed the cycle plays out like it did last time, in that situation, as we've always said, I think Ethereum would remain very bullish. So if Bitcoin, stays above the 20-week, I think Ethereum will retain that bullishness. I know a lot of people are bearish because Bitcoin is close to 10K, but imagine a world where Bitcoin holds the 20-week, right? I mean, there's a chance that it doesn't. Of course, we know this. We understand the risks involved. This is not financial advice, of course. We understand the risk involved in investing in crypto. But let's suppose for a minute, let's imagine that Bitcoin does hold the 20-week as support and heads back up. Well, it is my opinion that at this point, things like, coins like Ethereum are going to continue to do very, very well because they really shine when Bitcoin is above its 20-week. And the only thing, in my opinion, the only thing better than just being above the 20-week is being above the 20-week, coming down to test the 20-week, holding support on it, and then moving back up. In this situation, Ethereum would likely continue to outperform Bitcoin, okay? So if we take a look at the Ethereum-Bitcoin ratio, this is arguably more important than looking at its valuation against USD. You can see that there has generally been a momentum shift, right? We were moving down for the better part of 2 years. If you like traditional TA, we had this theoretical double bottom down here, right? And we had a turnaround point. We started moving up this channel, and right now we're basically in the middle of this channel. Okay, so we're still essentially moving up. One of the things that we said that would give Ethereum pause, right, is if Bitcoin moves down too quickly, which is kind of what it did. When Bitcoin moves from 12K to 10K in the matter of a few days, this is going to give the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio pause. It's going to make it come back down some, and we said this, we anticipated it. I didn't say, I'm not claiming to have said that I knew Bitcoin was going to drop. What I'm claiming is that, in a situation where Bitcoin drops too quickly or goes up too quickly, if it becomes overly bearish or overly bullish in a very short period of time, this causes the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio to bleed, right? And this is what we saw. Now, the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio is arguably already recovering, right? We saw it come all the way down to a ratio of 0.031. It's back up to 0.035. My contention is that as long as Bitcoin holds the 20-week moving average, as long as it stays above this, then not only will Ethereum USD continue to move back up, not only this, in addition, Ethereum Bitcoin will continue to move up, which is more important, right? Because it's not only gaining fiat value, but the idea is it's gaining value against Bitcoin. So if you already own some Bitcoin and you bought some Ethereum because you wanted to increase your risk-adjusted returns, because you recognize that, based on historical data and the historical volatility, Ethereum is capable of increasing your risk-adjusted return. So for every unit, every potential return you get, you are biting off some risk, but it seems worth it based on this historical data. So what you're looking for, right, you're looking for Ethereum to outperform Bitcoin. This is the general idea. So currently, it's still business as usual, right? I mean, as long as Bitcoin is above this 20-week moving average, I think it's still good to go. Now, if we look at the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, let's look at the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio back when Bitcoin held the 20 weeks. So remember, it was February. We've always said the first quarter. Now that we're potentially living it, again, we don't know yet. It's possible we don't hold it, but let's assume that we do. If you go back to February 1st of 2016, it was at this point here. So if you take a measured move, right, from back over here earlier in January to when Bitcoin held the 20-week, it was up approximately 200% against Bitcoin, okay, up approximately 200% against Bitcoin. After that, even though it was already up 200%, it still had another 340% left in it against Bitcoin. And this was actually when Bitcoin was holding the 20-week. It wasn't really when Bitcoin was being overly bullish. A lot of people think that Bitcoin has to be like skyrocketing for these other coins to go up. It's not true. As long as my opinion, based on the data, that as long as Bitcoin holds the 20-week, it doesn't even have to go back up to 12K. I mean, it'd be nice if it did, right? But we don't hope for these things. We just react to what happens. So, even if Bitcoin just stayed at, say, 10.3, 10.4, 10.5, maybe even if it slowly trickled back up to 11K, I think this is very good, not only for Ethereum USD, right, but Ethereum Bitcoin. One of the things we've talked about is the fact that it seems like every time Ethereum crosses $400, the valuation of Bitcoin is lower, right? And if you think about it, you remember, oh yeah, that's right, because the first time it crossed 400 locally, right, not globally, but just locally, Bitcoin was at 12K. The second time Ethereum crossed 400, I think Bitcoin was down a few $100s. It was like 11.7 or 11.8. Then the next time it was like 11.5, 11.6. The time after that it was around 11.3. If you can imagine that if Ethereum goes back to $400, then Bitcoin would likely be maybe even less than $1,000 or $11,000. Okay, so when you think about this, we made a video a while back called the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation shift of 2020. Right, it's during this year that I expect, as we've been mentioning all along, because it's been above the 20-week. That this is a key valuation shift year of the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, and I imagine that in 1 or 2 years, people are going to look back and be like, "Wow, the ratio was less than 0.02." This is my impression, anyways. Now, I think the Ethereum valuation against Bitcoin is still on track. All we need to see for business as usual to continue taking place, right, is for Bitcoin to hold the 20-week. In the scenario that it doesn't hold, if you wake up and you see it not holding, if you see that weekly close below the 20-week moving average, so if you see, say, like the body of a candle, coming over here and then closing below the 20 weeks and maybe somewhere in here, this is likely not that good for Ethereum. Not that good for Ethereum in terms of USD, and not that good for Ethereum in terms of its Bitcoin ratio. Okay, it's again, this is just the facts of this is just what the data suggests, not what Ben says. It's what the data suggests, time and time again, that if you see a weekly close below the 20-week, the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio will likely bleed. So what you need to do is you need to be prepared, right? If Bitcoin continues to hold the 20-week moving average, Ethereum's probably going to continue gaining on Bitcoin. This is my interpretation. If it goes below it, the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio will bleed. Remember that the 20-week moving average is moving up, right? So the current price of the 20-week is $99.54, which we're still a few $100s above. Okay, but as we showed, if you go back to the last cycle and you look at Bitcoin, when it was holding the 20-week and moving back to that local top. Actually, it was a little bit further back here. When it came up to this top, came down to the 20-week, back up to the top, back to the 20-week, right? In this scenario, you can see the 20-week moving average was continuing to increase. So the price of Bitcoin, these candles had to continue to more or less increase over over several weeks, because in order to stay above the 20-week, the price had to continue moving up to stay above it, right? So you can see this candle was at 371. If the price of Bitcoin was at 371 just a month later, it would have been, fairly significantly below the 20-week. So it had to move up, came up to a little quickly, back to the local top, back down to the 20-week, back to the local top, back down to the 20-week, and then broke through. Okay, so again, if Bitcoin does this, I don't know if Bitcoin's going to do this, but if it does do this, Bitcoin could get somewhat boring over the next several months if this is the case, because just looking at the last cycle, we talk about lengthening cycles, just looking at the last cycle, once it got to the 20-week, it was still 16 weeks before it broke through. So this, if we were to project this on today, it would mean that Bitcoin would not break 12K for another 4 months or so. So 16 weeks approximately. But again, even with that in mind, we also talk about lengthening cycles. So if lengthening cycle theory is true, then we might have longer reaccumulation phases before we move back up. Okay, so you need to keep this in mind. So in this scenario, right, where Bitcoin does slowly move back up, back down, back up, back down, Ethereum is likely going to be volatile too, not only against USD, but against Bitcoin. But I think that it's going to slowly, if it does do this, if Bitcoin does does something like this, I think the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio would likely continue to go up, right? Because it's doing exactly what it needs to do for the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio to go up over the macro scale, right? It's Bitcoin's not super bearish, right? It's not below the 20-week, but it's also not super bullish either, right? It's not just exploding in value. So what I would anticipate is if Bitcoin holds the 20-week, I would anticipate the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio to continue to move up. If this is the case, it would be several months of slower, basically a slow and methodical move up this channel, right? Slowly but surely. And in the situation where if this does take place and then Bitcoin, say, blasts upwards at this point, and let's take a measured move from here up, up more. It went up 70%. Okay, so if Bitcoin were to pump, let's say like 40% or so after a few more months, and revisit some of these other price levels that hasn't seen in a while, this might actually be a time where the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio would bleed in the short term because money is pouring back into Bitcoin, right? So this is the general idea. The altcoins move. I'm not considering Ethereum an altcoin, but the altcoins move. Ethereum moves. When Bitcoin moves, that money, those profits go back into Bitcoin, from the smart money, of course, not the dumb money. And then you ride that for a while at the expense of the other coins. Bitcoin moves up. You take those profits, you reallocate them to a less risky coin. This is what I do, or at least what I try to do. And you just continue to repeat the cycle. It comes back down to the 20-week. And in this situation, right, if it comes back down to the 20-week quickly, then the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio would probably continue to bleed. But then holding it would likely recover. And then as it slowly moves back up, I would anticipate the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio to continue slowly move back up too. Again, this is a lot of speculation. I understand that it all essentially depends on Bitcoin holding the 20-week, right? If we don't hold the 20-week, then it's a completely new ball game, right? It's a completely new ball game, and we're essentially kicking the can down the road, so to speak, for a theoretical bull market that would hopefully last us several years. And in hindsight, looking back and see that, oh yeah, this was the beginning of the bull market. We just didn't know it yet, right? This is what could happen. But again, hindsight has a way of elucidating the truth, because then you can see exactly how things played out and how the different ratios of the different coins corresponded to each other. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe. If you want access to the premium content, check out the website intothecryptoverse.com. Prices are going up on September 28th. So if you want to get grandfathered in, make sure you sign up before September 28th. You can sign up with crypto and for 12 months and get a 15% discount. If you're curious what comes with the premium list, you get 6 different things. You get the risk dashboard, which is what I use to trade. It's not day trading. It's more long-term shifts in the market, right? These momentum shifts in the market. So going from high risk to low risk, not all at once, but a slow move in and a slow move out. You get access to a dynamic DCA strategy dashboard, which helps you anticipate how you might want to formulate your own strategy based on your own risk tolerance. You get a weekly premium video, a weekly premium report. You also get access to a private Telegram alerts channel where I'll put out alerts basically daily, and then a private chat room on Telegram. So if you guys like the content, please check it out. Prices are going up in 18 days on September 28th. So make sure you sign up before that if you've been thinking about it for a while and you're not sure. Would hate for you to forget about it, and then on the 29th you realize it's too late. So make sure you sign up. The prices are going to go up substantially. It's not just going to be a small increase. They are going to go up substantially. So do check it out. Make sure you subscribe to the video at the very least. Give the video a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.